Hello and welcome to Pub and Fig. In this video, I want to go over everything you need to know before you watch Loki Season 2. I will only use these projects as reference, so there will be no spoilers from the trailers nor the marketing. How I want to organize this video is by first going over the impact Season 1 had on the rest of the MCU, then go ahead and cover what I consider to be the loose ends in the series and what themes we can continue exploring. So without further ado, let's review. So what impact did Season 1 have on the rest of the MCU? Oh, you know, just answers to hypothetical situations, a live-action Spider-Man pointing meme, new dangers to the multiverse, multiversal operations, and a lot more Kangs. Out of these instances, only 2 of them would have a substantial impact, I think. In Multiverse of Madness, we are introduced to the idea of Incursions, which is where 2 universes collide with and destroy each other. While that movie shows an end result of an incursion, what if Episode 4 and Across the Spider-Verse show what I believe to be incursions in action? If you want me to go further into my thoughts on incursions as well as how they work in many other facets of the Marvel Multiverse, I do plan on making a video in the future, so consider subscribing if you want to stay in the loop for that. Looking at Season 2, I would not be surprised if incursions actually play a role in the plot, whether it be to heighten stakes or to further enhance the story. Of course, Quantumania is our key contributor since it introduced us to the dreaded variants of He Who Remains. We saw glimpses of a Kang destroying entire branches in the multiverse, but it seems almost every other variant operate together in the Council of Kangs. They seem to have woven the multiverse to their liking, but in Quantumania they gathered together in order to address how non-Kangs are beginning to touch the multiverse. We can assume they are talking about Ant-Man here, but it could also be Doctor Strange's or Spider-Man for all we know. If you want to see my thoughts on how I think Kang operates, then I would heavily encourage watching my How Kang Conquers video for extra support going into Season 2. Now, let's get into what I see to be the loose ends from Season 1. I will not be going over the whole season since I'm just going to assume we all remember it enough to go forward with these, but if you want to rewatch it or if you haven't already for whatever reason, then I did make a Season 1 before you watch in case you want to check that out. This is my last plug, I swear, and all of these videos will be linked in the description below. One of the earliest loose ends that I could think of was the Nexus spike on Lamentis. Loki and Sylvie were stranded during an apocalyptic event, meaning no variant signature should have been picked up.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
I always thought that this would be explained in greater detail, so Season 2 should be the time to do it. This one is less of a loose end and more of a potential promise, that being Loki is more powerful than he realizes. Each Loki has their own strength, such as Sylvie with enchanting and classic Loki with both illusion projection and duplication casting, but all Lokis can excel in these fields, so I think we'll see Loki explore this and strengthen his powers even more. The next one would be Ravonna Renslayer, as we saw her leaving
in search of free will,
which will likely lead her to a Kang or the Council of Kangs. Looking back just a little bit, we have the Fiery Sword. Kid Loki gives this to main Loki as a gift for the pursuit against the TVA, but we have only seen it pay off in distracting Goliath and in the duel against Sylvie. So my guess is we'll see this have more relevance in screen time in Season 2, despite it being lost in the Citadel. As for that duel, Loki is tricked by Sylvie and pushed back into the TVA, and she kills He Who Remains thinking it was all a bluff. The last we see of her is when she falls to the ground, likely in a state of what have I done? As for Loki, he catches up with Mobius and Hunter B15, but they both seem to be memory wiped, and he finds that the Timekeeper statues are replaced with one of Kang. In my opinion, there are 3 potential explanations for this. Firstly, there could have been time wonkiness while Loki and Sylvie were at the Citadel, so this TVA could have adjusted to new management and a wash of braining has occurred. From how I see it, this is the most obvious and surface answer, but I'm just going to cover the other 2 just in case. Second possibility is that this is just a new TVA altogether. When the multiverse opened up, it not only created variant universes, but variant TVAs. The third idea kind of builds off of what I said for the first, so it's more of a 1.2. Or would it be 1.1 if the first one was 1.0, or should I do...
3 of the hardest things for people to say. I was wrong. I need help. And Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce.
Meanwhile,
or should I call it 1.B and 1.A just for simplicity's sake? Worcestershire sauce. Anyway, what I think would be an interesting possibility is if this is the same TVA, but the TVA workers we see here are not the same Mobius and B15 that we know. The other loose end this possibility would address would be the cup rings in Ravonna's office, as she insists Mobius made them yet he has no memory. I've always speculated that there could be multiple Mobiuses, and this would make sense as the TVA recruits variants from the timeline. Otherwise, the first possibility could explain this by saying the TVA resets quite often, so it could have been Mobius who didn't use the coasters before, but it was just from a previous cycle. Those are the loose ends I found, but if you think I missed any, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be really interested to hear what you would have to say. Now, looking at the themes, the simplest way to describe it would be this belief in a glorious purpose. In my Before You Watch Loki Season 1 video, I talked about how Loki always wanted love and respect because he didn't feel like he got it from his family until it was too late. Looking at this through the lens of glorious purpose, he thought ruling would have fulfilled that need when in reality he just needed to see how much his family actually cared for him. However, this is what the TVA sees as Loki's glorious purpose.
You weren't born to be king, Loki. You were born to cause pain and suffering and death. That's how it is, that's how it was, that's how it will be. All so that others can achieve their best versions of themselves.
I am no expert, but I have heard that this is rooted in Norse mythology, as his antagonistic presence helps the heroes grow and develop. We see this in What If Episode 7, where Loki not growing up as an Asgardian left everyone immature. I think Season 1 redirected Loki's glorious purpose into one of defiance, as he and Sylvie try to undermine the TVA, Sylvie as a form of revenge, and Loki to prove he is not
a cosmic mistake.
However, Season 1 is ultimately a tragedy since they failed to defy expectations.
Do you think that what makes a Loki is the fact that we're destined to lose?
Sylvie thought killing He Who Remains would bring freedom and new life into the multiverse, but then she hears, which tells her that the speech about his variants was not a bluff. As for Loki, he saw the consequences of this action, but was pushed away by the person who probably understood him the most. I believe Season 2 will continue to explore this idea of glorious purpose only through their attempts at setting things right. If you want me to make a video going into this topic further, this idea of glorious purpose and how that even reflects onto the other Lokis, please let me know. I've had these ideas ruminating in my mind for forever, but I just don't know if there's a demand for it 2 years too late. However, this brings us to the end of the video. If you need to re-listen to anything, feel free to use the chapter markers to go back to any point you want to, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like so other people can find this video as well in order to prepare for the new season. If you want to engage with the channel outside of just being subscribed, feel free to join the Pub and Fig Discord server, also linked below. As always, this is Pub and Fig, sayonara.